Every new Pikmin game is pretty much defined by its new Pikmin types. Not only do they tend to be the most memorable part of the marketing leading up to a new game's release, they also tend to be in the spotlight for a large portion of the game's runtime. The first game introduced the classic primary colored trio, which were obviously the focus of that title, and each game since the first entry seems to come with about 2 or 3 new types of Pikmin that tend to steal the show. Pikmin 2 added the purple and white Pikmin plus the secret type Bulborb, Pikmin 3 brought us the rock and wing Pikmin, and Pikmin 4 brought back all of the prior types in its main campaign, but also gave us the new Ice and Glow Pikmin. And even though the Ice Pikmin are somewhat optional, they're really a standout type that's used a lot by new players and really pushed by the game. It stands to reason that the very next Pikmin game will also bring a couple new types with new abilities. But what will those types be like? It's a common belief that we're running out of unique colors for those Pikmin to be, considering red, yellow, blue, purple, white, pink, gray, cyan, and lime have all been used. That being said, I don't think this actually precludes these colors from being used again, and depending on how you look at it, 2 different hues of blue have already been used for Blue Pikmin and Ice Pikmin, and the same may be true of green if Bulbmin are green and, well, Glow Pikmin are green, and on top of that, purple has definitely been used twice, since Mushroom Pikmin from Pikmin 1 are already purple, and the purple Pikmin are also definitely purple, though they are different shades, and Ocha and Moss too are yellow and orange, and green and blue respectively, and the Leaflings as well have a variety of colors. My point to all of this is that I think these colors could totally be reused for future Pikmin types, given that the body structures of the Pikmin are different enough. And even still, there are a bunch of colors that remain unrepresented. Today, I want to explore this concept by designing a bunch of new Pikmin types in the life simulator game Spore, proving that the color rule is not necessarily a one-and-done thing in the Pikmin design world. My name is Vantage Emblem, and if you haven't seen, I've made a bunch of Pikmin stuff in Spore before. A lot of it is really cool, though some of it is super cursed, and that is going to continue to be the theme with the creatures we create today. That said, today, we're going to be using the excellent Pikmin template in Spore created by Trilobite, aka Shadowraptor 101, which should overall make the quality of our creatures better than they would be if I tried doing it myself. Shadowraptor 101 made some of the best Pikmin Spore creatures out there, and if you want to see more of their stuff, I'll be covering it in this channel. So if you want to see more Spore content like this, subscribe, and you know what? Suggest some type ideas in the comments. I definitely would like to make some of your ideas in Spore in a future video. And if you want to send me your Spore creations, you can do it in my Discord, which you can access in the link below. That being said, without further ado, let's get into it. So Pikmin have a certain proportion to them, and one of the reasons I really love Shadowraptor 101's template is, despite the limitations of Spore, it really achieves these proportions. When I try making creatures on my own, a lot of times I'm unable to match the proportions accurately given some of Spore's limitations and my own artistic abilities limitations, so using Shadowraptor's template is just a great starting point. That being said, I want to break these proportions to start out. I want to make a Pikmin that just does not look like a Pikmin to see how far we can push things reasonably and maybe at what point things break, so we know really the limits of what we can make. And unfortunately, this left me with a creature that was super cursed, introducing the Zoinks Pikmin. So while I'm super proud of some of the ideas in this video, this straight up is not one of them, and I'd like to explain why, because it was entirely intentional. I've seen way too many Spore and other Pikmin creations that just move way too far away from the core essence of what a Pikmin is, and that really makes the design fall into this kind of uncanny valley of non-Pikmin-ness. And even with the weird designs today, I really wanted to avoid this. In order to improve the overall crop of Pikmin that we create here, I wanted to make one that was so terrible, so bad, that it would clearly highlight what we should not do. And I absolutely succeeded. This one is so terrible, so bad, that the only place to go from here is up. First, we see the proportions have changed, which is what has made this a monstrosity. You can't just slap an antenna on anything and call it a Pikmin, so I'd like to talk about what went wrong here, because it's still using Shadowraptor's template, right? And I think that's the feet are way too much, I think the face is way too much, a lot of this is trying to lean into that ugly, over-realistic look, which is not what Pikmin does. Pikmin is stylized, and there's a proportion to everything, right? The eyes tend to be very simple, but hang off the body a little bit. The limbs are very small and constrained, with the exception of the antenna with the leaf butter flower, which is the main focus. Even the most abstract Pikmin types like the Bulbmin or the rock Pikmin still tend to fall within these same similar design constraints. This thing doesn't look human, by any means, but it looks human enough that it's ugly, and that's something Pikmin never are. They're very cute. Right, so we can keep all of these things in mind when designing our future types, and know that this is a horrible example and obviously something we don't want to follow in the footsteps of. There's a way to over-design something, and this totally does it. Alright, let's move on with one of my favorite ideas in this video, and the first legit Pikmin type we're proposing today, the Bouncy Ball Pikmin. I wanted to take the idea of the Rock Pikmin and Ice Pikmin, which have a different body shape, and show how a different body shape can still work within the constraints we're setting up for ourselves to make it look authentically Pikmin. The Bouncy Ball Pikmin is my take on an orange Pikmin type, and the idea is that it could really be any other color, right? This isn't a type that's really bound to any coloration, and I think that's fun for the first Pikmin type of this video. The idea is you throw this guy and he bounces off of any surface he lands on, and then his second bounce allows him to make it to further areas, kind of like the bouncy mushrooms in Pikmin 3, for example. The reason I went with orange for these guys is I've heard a lot of people say that orange is one of the few colors that are actually left that a Pikmin can take up, and I think, again, that Pikmin colors are not the only restriction to types anymore, and a type like this could be very distinct from another orange Pikmin type. You could have two different shades of orange, potentially, with this being a more basketball-y shade of orange, and a different, maybe more golden shade of orange being a completely different type, right? So even within the realm of the unused colors, I think something like this could allow us to get more mileage out of the colors that are left. Speaking of getting more mileage out of the colors that are left, we already have a pink Pikmin in the form of the winged Pikmin, and we already have two purple Pikmin, that being the purple Pikmin themselves and their mushroom counterparts. I think it's time we make another Pikmin in the purple and pink kind of category, and we make a lavender Pikmin of some sort. So I'd like to introduce the Wrecker Pikmin. What was really important for this guy is that he had a distinct body shape that was still very Pikmin, but different from the other types. Now, fortunately, pink Pikmin in the form of winged Pikmin and purple Pikmin in the form of purple Pikmin and mushroom Pikmin all are very, very distinct from this guy and from each other. So what I did was I put a lot of weight into his hands and kind of cupped his feet using some of Spore's more interesting feet shapes to make it look like he can potentially suction cup using his feet. And I also gave him horns just because we haven't seen that on a Pikmin type before. The idea is this guy is not really great at carrying things in the way normal Pikmin are. I mean, of course he's able to carry things, but he doesn't really have hands. Instead, he has big boxing glove-like structures at the end of his arms, which, yes, he can use to lift things, but they're not really the greatest for anything other than striking, and boy, does he do extra damage when he attacks things. I like the idea that this guy can't really latch on to enemies well. I mean, he can. He has suction cup feet, which he can use to latch on to enemies and actually walk up and down walls, which means he can carry things in a whole new way. But he struggles to actually grab onto anything with his hands, which means when fighting enemies, he does 2 times the regular Pikmin type damage, and when lifting items, he's able to lift and carry them down different paths, but he's also prone to dropping things, so it's kind of a different sort of dynamic. If you were up a hill and whistled these guys to you, they'd be able to walk right up, for example, because of their suction cup feet, but if they were trying to carry something down a ledge, they might drop it. I also love the idea of these guys being entirely immune to some sort of hazard, maybe strong winds, or maybe being pulled in by some enemies like bog swallows that are able to like vacuum pull in Pikmin types. Alright, this next Pikmin type I've called the Snatch Pikmin. Now, the idea of these guys is they are a dark brown or otherwise gray color that's different from the rock Pikmin which already exist in the game. At this point, I had created 2 standard Pikmin ideas and wanted to harken back to kind of those edgy Pikmin OC drawings from between Pikmin 2 and 3, where a lot of the black Pikmin designs were winged, like bat creatures or vampire-looking Pikmin. I wanted to take that idea and kind of run with it in a way that I think is too extreme for the Pikmin games, but would still be an interesting concept nonetheless. So the idea with these types is that they're kind of a more defensive Pikmin type. They're a bit like a Venus flytrap. When you throw them, they kind of wait like a bomb rock Pikmin would, and if a small enemy like a sheer grub approaches, they snatch them up and defeat them in 1 attack. Additionally, if you were to throw 3 of these out in front of a dwarf Bulborb, for example, and lure it over to them, they would defeat that creature in 1 attack. The idea is that for some of the smaller enemies that can be bothersome to deal with on a no-loss playthrough, these guys could be a really great solution, though they have other uses too. For example, if they were eaten by a larger creature, they would be that Pikmin type that would be, well, not necessarily immune to being eaten, but they'd be able to hold the mouth open for a little longer, maybe buying themselves and any other Pikmin that were gobbled up a few extra seconds of life that you could use to save them by defeating the creature. Additionally, I'm a fan of having them immune to a new hazard like acid or something like that, just to give them something else that's a little bit of an edge up against other Pikmin that are similar. I'm not the biggest fan of my actual design for them, and I'd love if you guys would like to make some iterative designs based on this idea. I've seen some amazing ideas based on the deep Bulborb that were made by folks that suggested them to me on Blue Sky or on my Discord, and I'm going to show some of them on screen now. Like, I'm really in love with this mole design for the deep Bulborb. Like, it's so cool, and that's from the last Spore video, so if you guys want to take this and run with it, please, I implore you. And it's not just the deep Bulborb too, like, a lot of the other ideas are also getting some traction, specifically from the most recent video, and I just love this. Like, guys, if you want to make anything about anything I make in Spore, like, it makes my day. So you guys are awesome. Come join my Discord again if you want to make this stuff and share it with me, or follow me on Blue Sky and send it to me there. Like, I love this. As I said, a lot of the times I think I have some okay ideas, but my artistic ability is not there, and you guys go above and beyond, and I just love everything you guys make. So thank you, and I'd love to see this happen to the Snatch Pikmin, so if you guys make Snatch Pikmin, send it to me. I want to see iterations on this concept. Speaking of the last Spore video, and I know I started this with the Zoinks Pikmin, we've made a couple interesting Pikmin designs here, but I know these videos tend to do well because I make some horrifying monstrosities, or dig up some horrifying monstrosities from my childhood creations, but, I mean, that's not going to happen in this video, right? So, I want to let you know the next creature I'm about to show you started out as a yellow Pikmin, and then I just kept messing with it, and, yeah, I wanted to make something that was out of your worst nightmare. So here, this thing, yep, this guy, he pokes you and then you run away. He used to be a yellow Pikmin in Spore, and then I messed with him a bunch. And now look at him follow a leader. Yeah, by the way, I made Leafling, Olimar, and stuff, and, you know, that's cool. But, like, no, back to this guy. Look, oh, look. Yeah. You want these guys to follow you, right? Yeah, I know. Great. So, again, an example of pushing the Pikmin design too far, right? These guys are horrifying, and I never want to see something like this in-game. Ever. So, a while back, I commissioned a Pikmin rap from the notorious, infamous Kanye East.
Pikmin!
Who was just a meme rapper that would rap whatever people said. And I asked him to rap about Pikmin. He had no idea what he was talking about, and mentioned some regular Pikmin.
Yellow Pikmin, they climb up high and got those regular Pikmin to do my deeds.
So I got this idea in my head. What if I were to make these regular Pikmin with no abilities? And so here you go. Here's the beige Pikmin. They're as boring as possible. So while some of these types have been too much, I think this guy is too little, right? Maybe he's immune to sand or something, you know, really simple, but obviously all new Pikmin types since the original 3 have had a very different body plan from the original trio, and I think this guy just doesn't fit. That being said, I don't think the idea of a beige or tan Pikmin is a bad one. I think, again, we want to get creative with what types we're able to use and what colors we're able to use to make those types. So, I decided, what if we had a multicolor Pikmin type? A Pikmin type that used blue and yellow, for example, to make a different kind of combination than what we've seen before. I think this could work very well, and Pikmin could start experimenting with multicolor Pikmin, especially if they don't serve the same functions as their original single-color counterparts. As anyone who's been watching my channel for a long time probably knows, I love the wraiths in Pikmin, and I thought, what if we combined the blue water wraith, kind of ethereal creature, with the gold plasm wraith ethereal creature, and created a singular being that was abstract for a Pikmin, very otherworldly, very creepy, but altogether would serve as a very interesting new Pikmin type. And to that end, I created the Destiny or Dimension Pikmin. These guys would be able to fight creatures outside of their own dimension, like the Water or Plasm Wraith. And ultimately, they would serve as a separate counter for Wraith entities outside of, say, using purple Pikmin to temporarily stun otherworldly beings. So for example, something like the Mysterious Light form, which can't be directly fought until you've escaped the cave, these guys could counteract them. Something like the Water Wraith, these guys could counteract them in their gooey water form while they still have their rollers, right? However, I think these guys would be altogether ineffective against other types of enemies. Maybe they're only really useful against ethereal enemies, and maybe the presence of these Pikmin types attracts more ethereal enemies too, since they exist in a kind of ethereal, other dimensional space as well. I think there's a lot of room for Pikmin to get really weird with its future types, and I really like this idea as much as it's way too much for Pikmin, and again, probably not going to happen. Alright, well, I think we've reached the end of today's video. I have a lot more ideas for Pikmin types in Spore, but I think that'll have to come in another future Pikmin Spore video. And I know a lot of people have been sending me Bulborbs that they've created in Spore, and I'd love to go through those in a future Pikmin Spore video, and I also have some other Pikmin Spore surprises with some other creators coming in the future. But for this video, I think this is going to end things here. What do you think of these creatures? Do you think that you'd love some of these Pikmin types? Would you absolutely hate some of these Pikmin types? Would you hate to see this thing in Pikmin? Honestly, I'm not even sure I'd have this as a Pikmin type. I like the idea of this being like a creeping chrysanthemum style Pikmin mimic that when you go to pluck the sprout, it pops up and comes after you. That's horrifying, and I love that as a boss. Maybe deep in the bottom of a cave, maybe you have to use a candy pop bud to create it. I don't know, I just love this being a horrible, horrible monstrosity that you have to fight. But anyway, what do you think about all the creatures in this video? Please let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and end things here. My name is Vantage Emblem. Thanks again for watching this crazy Spore stuff we do here, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.